Water echoes through the empty shower facility. 5 male recruits surround the female officer they've cornered after training. Alone, vulnerable, they think she's just another woman they can intimidate. But when they see the trident tattoo on her shoulder, everything changes. What happens next will change everything you thought you knew about who holds real power. It's 2:30 a.m. at Naval Special Warfare Training Command in Coronado, California. The kind of hour when most people are deep asleep, but Navy SEAL candidates are just finishing another day that would break most civilians before lunch. Lieutenant Sarah Phoenix Rodriguez has been here for 6 months, the only woman in a class of 47 candidates trying to earn the right to wear the SEAL trident. 6 months of being told she doesn't belong. 6 months of harassment disguised as training. 6 months of proving herself over and over again to men who've already decided she'll never be good enough. Tonight was different. Today's Hell Week simulation pushed everyone beyond their limits. Sarah carried a 200-pound teammate for 3 miles when he collapsed from exhaustion. She completed the underwater demolition course faster than anyone in her class. She led a night infiltration exercise that her instructors called textbook perfection. But when the official training ended, 5 members of her class cornered her with a message that had nothing to do with her performance and everything to do with their wounded egos. The shower facility is empty except for the sound of running water and echoing footsteps. Sarah thought she was alone when she entered to wash off the day's mud, sweat, and salt water. Standard post-training routine that every candidate follows. She didn't hear them enter until it was too late. Well, look what we have here. The voice belongs to Petty Officer Marcus Webb, a candidate who's been recycled through SEAL training twice already. The kind of man who blames everyone except himself for his failures. Tonight, he's brought back up 4 other candidates who've spent months watching Sarah outperform them and hating every minute of it. Sarah is wrapped in a towel, her wet hair hanging around her shoulders, completely vulnerable in a way that would terrify most women, alone with 5 men who clearly didn't come here to discuss training techniques. Gentlemen, her voice is steady despite the situation, I think you are in the wrong facility. Webb steps closer, his teammates spreading out to block the exits. Classic intimidation tactics designed to make their target feel trapped and helpless. Actually, Rodriguez, we're exactly where we need to be. See, we've been talking, and we think it's time someone explained some things to you. What kind of things? Like how this program isn't designed for women. Like how you're taking a spot that belongs to a real warrior. Like how maybe it's time you quit and went back to whatever secretarial job you had before you decided to play soldier. The other 4 laugh like this is the funniest thing they've ever heard. 5 grown men who think they're about to humiliate a woman into abandoning her dreams. 5 Navy candidates who are about to learn a lesson that will change their understanding of power, authority, and exactly who they're dealing with. Sarah shifts her weight slightly, and for the first time, the overhead lights hit her shoulder in a way that reveals something Webb and his friends haven't noticed before. A tattoo. Small, precisely detailed, positioned exactly where military regulations allow. But it's not just any tattoo. It's a Navy SEAL trident. Not the kind of tattoo you buy at a parlor after watching a war movie. The kind of tattoo that's earned through blood, sweat, and accomplishments that most people can't even imagine. The kind of tattoo that tells a story these 5 men are about to hear whether they want to or not. Webb, Sarah's voice has changed. The defensive tone is gone, replaced by something that makes all 5 men suddenly pay attention. Before you continue with whatever you think is about to happen here, I need to ask you something. Yeah? What's that? Do you know what this is? Sarah turns slightly, letting the light hit her shoulder tattoo directly. Webb's confident expression starts to fade as his brain processes what he's seeing. The other 4 men lean forward, trying to understand why their leader suddenly looks like he's seen a ghost. That's not possible, isn't it? Sarah reaches for her gear bag and pulls out a military ID that makes Webb's face go white. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez, United States Navy SEALs. Active duty, Team 6. Service record that includes 3 combat deployments, 2 Bronze Stars, and a Navy Cross for actions in Syria that are still classified. You see, gentlemen, there's been a misunderstanding. You thought I was here trying to become a SEAL, but I've been a Navy SEAL for 8 years. I'm not Lieutenant Rodriguez, SEAL candidate. I'm Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, SEAL Team 6 operative, currently serving as an instructor evaluator for this training program. The shower facility goes dead silent except for the sound of running water that suddenly seems deafeningly loud. Webb's mouth opens and closes like a fish gasping for air. The four men behind him look like they want to disappear into the tile walls, because they've just realized they didn't corner a vulnerable female candidate. They cornered their superior officer. "Ma'am, we didn't know." "No, you didn't know, because for 6 months, I've been conducting a behavioral evaluation of SEAL candidates, testing not just your physical capabilities, but your character, your integrity, your ability to treat fellow service members with respect regardless of gender." Sarah's gear bag contains more than just her ID, training records that show she's completed more combat missions than all 5 men combined, commendations from operations they'll never have clearance to read about, recommendations from commanding officers who trust her with America's most dangerous assignments. "For 8 years, I've been the woman who infiltrated terrorist strongholds in Afghanistan. I've been the operator who provided close protection for diplomats in Iraq. I've been the team leader who trained foreign special forces in Syria. And for the past 6 months, I've been watching you 5 demonstrate exactly why the Navy SEAL program needs better screening procedures." Commander Rodriguez because that's who she really is pulls out a waterproof tablet that contains detailed behavioral evaluations on every candidate in the program. Webb and his 4 accomplices have files that document every incident of harassment, every inappropriate comment, every moment when they chose intimidation over integrity. "Webb, your file shows a patterns of aggressive behavior toward female personnel that predates this training program." Chen, your psychological evaluation indicates difficulty accepting authority from women. Stevens, you've made 17 documented comments about female service members that violate Navy regulations on workplace conduct. The 5 men are no longer predators cornering prey. They're candidates who just realized they've been hunting someone who outranks them, outperforms them, and has been evaluating their fitness for naval service for 6 months. "But ma'am," Webb's voice is barely a whisper, "you were struggling in training, you needed help with the obstacle courses." I was performing at exactly the level required to maintain my cover while conducting my evaluation. Every struggle was carefully calculated, every request for help was a test to see how you'd respond to a teammate who needed support." Sarah pulls up training footage on her tablet that shows the truth. Video of her completing Hell Week exercises faster than any candidate in program history. Records of her physical fitness scores that exceed SEAL standards by margins that would seem impossible to most people. Documentation of her real capabilities that she's been hiding for 6 months. The woman you thought you could intimidate has more combat experience than your entire class combined. The teammate you thought was weak has been holding back her real abilities to test whether you have the character required to serve in naval special warfare. One of the men, Stevens, finally finds his voice. "Commander, what happens now?" Sarah looks at each of them with the kind of cold evaluation that comes from 8 years of assessing threats and making life or death decisions about people's character under pressure. "Now you learn what happens when Navy SEAL candidates fail the most important test of their training, the test of character, the test of integrity, the test of whether you can treat fellow service members with respect regardless of gender." She pulls out her phone and makes a call that connects her directly to the training command duty officer. "This is Commander Rodriguez. I need to speak with Captain Morris immediately." "Yes, sir. I know what time it is." "Yes, sir. This is regarding the behavioral evaluation program." The conversation that follows is brief, professional, and devastating for 5 men who thought they were about to humiliate a woman instead of ending their own military careers. When she hangs up, Sarah looks at Webb and his accomplices with a kind of disappointment that hurts more than anger. "Gentlemen, you'll be meeting with Captain Morrison at 0600. Your training records will be reviewed, and decisions will be made about your continued participation in this program. But I can tell you right now, the Navy SEAL teams don't have room for operators who think intimidation and harassment are acceptable ways to treat their teammates." Webb tries one last desperate attempt to salvage the situation. "Commander, we made a mistake. We didn't know. If you give us another chance." "You made 5 months of mistakes, Webb. Tonight wasn't a single incident. Tonight was the culmination of a pattern of behavior that demonstrates you don't have the character required to serve in naval special warfare. Sarah gathers her gear and prepares to leave the shower facility that will forever be remembered as the place where 5 SEAL candidates destroyed their own careers by underestimating exactly who they were dealing with. The mission of naval special warfare is to provide the President of the United States with a maritime special operations force trained and equipped to conduct a variety of special operations missions in unforgiving environments. Operators who can't treat their own teammates with respect have no business representing this country in combat. As she heads toward the exit, Sarah pauses and looks back at 5 men who are finally beginning to understand the magnitude of their mistake. For 8 years, I've served alongside the finest warriors this country has ever produced. Men who judge their teammates by their capabilities, their character, and their commitment to the mission. Men who understand that the person covering your back in combat might be a woman, and that's perfectly fine as long as she can do the job. You 5 don't understand that, which means you don't understand what it means to be a Navy SEAL. The shower facility door closes behind Commander Sarah Rodriguez, leaving 5 former SEAL candidates alone with the sound of running water and a devastating realization that they just ended their own military careers by cornering someone who could probably defeat all 5 of them simultaneously even without the authority that comes with rank and experience. But this story didn't start 6 months ago when Commander Rodriguez went undercover as a SEAL candidate. It started 8 years earlier, when Seaman Sarah Rodriguez became the first woman to complete Navy SEAL training despite facing challenges that would have broken most people long before Hell Week, the day she proved that the only thing more dangerous than underestimating your enemy is underestimating your teammate. Because in the end, the greatest warriors aren't always the ones with the biggest muscles or the loudest voices. Sometimes they're the ones who let you underestimate them right up until the moment they show you exactly who you are dealing with. Welcome to the Human Stories, where real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real warriors don't need to prove themselves to people who aren't worthy of their respect, and real heroes sometimes look exactly like the people you'd least expect to save your life. Remember Commander Sarah Rodriguez the next time you think you know someone's capabilities based on their appearance, their gender, or your own assumptions about what strength looks like. Because the most dangerous person in any room might be the one who's quiet enough to let you reveal exactly who you are before they show you who they are. And in the shower facility of a Navy SEAL training command, 5 men learned that lesson in the hardest way possible. They thought they had cornered prey. Instead, they had cornered a predator who'd been evaluating them for months and finally had all the evidence she needed to end their careers. The strongest warriors don't need to intimidate anyone. They just need to be underestimated by the right people at the right moment. And then they need to be exactly who they've always been.